Hey there, my friends. After almost an entire season, we're finally back at the Brazilian GP, held in the city of Sao Paulo at the historic Interlagos circuit. And of course, we bring you all the details of what happened on the track in this first and only free practice session this weekend, which was of course very busy and brought some surprises. But before I tell you all the details, I invite you to subscribe and activate notifications here on the channel, since that's the only way you'll miss absolutely no detail of this special weekend. And if you like full videos like this one, leave a like to support our work. Without further ado, let's go to Interlagos, where we had some news even before the cars hit the track, such as the confirmation that Fernando Alonso arrived in Brazil on time and will drive for Aston Martin as usual. It is worth remembering that Alonso had to rush to Europe after the Mexican GP to treat a health problem, missing the first activities of the week, such as interviews and others scheduled for Thursday. At Haas, a few minutes before the start of practice one, the team announced that Kevin Magnussen would miss this first day due to also being sick. The team did not provide details of what happened to their driver, saying only that they would bring more news soon. Oliver Bearman was announced as a replacement for today, with him participating in practice one, qualifying for the sprint and the sprint race on Saturday. It is up in the air whether he will continue for the rest of the weekend, or if Magnussen will return for tomorrow's activities. It is worth remembering that this will be Bearman's third time driving as a replacement this year, gaining good experience to make his debut as a regular driver for Haas next year. Now, speaking of the cars on the track, right from the start we could see a new rear wing in the Mclaren garage that will be tested this weekend, with the team trying to improve and fine-tune their car for this final stretch, aiming to prevent Ferrari from taking the lead, nor Red Bull from getting close. Going to the track, the circuit was resurfaced, which left the teams worried about grip, especially with the chance of rain for the rest of the weekend, which could really mix up the grid. With time allowed, Haas driver Oliver Bearman was one of the first to go out on the track, trying to gain experience on this circuit that he had never driven on before. And right from the first few minutes, 100% of the cars went out on the track since they had no time to waste, since with this single training session, any unforeseen event, accident or red flag could really mess up the car's preparation. At the beginning, the drivers opted to use medium tires, with only the Racing Bulls cars opting for soft tires. And after everyone's first times, Lando Norris was the fastest, Oscar Piastri was second, and Pierre Gasly third. Verstappen was only ninth, with Zhou and Lawson closing the grid as the slowest. At Williams, the team carried out tests on their car, using Flovis to mark the path of the air through the car, studying the aerodynamics, and trying to find the best adjustment for this weekend. Speaking of the rookie in this final stretch of the season, the Argentine Franco Colapinto, unfortunately, he had some bad news this morning, as his grandfather ended up passing away there in Argentina, with the driver arriving at the circuit dejected and not giving interviews today, trying to focus only on what he needed to do on the track. In the opening minutes, the drivers opted to do several laps in a row at qualifying pace, with some stopping in the pits for adjustments and then returning to the track for another sequence of laps, with the Red Bull, Mercedes and McLaren cars showing good performances at the beginning, but everything was still very unpredictable, as no one was pushing to the limit in this part. Regarding these laps, Verstappen complained about his car after some changes and asked the team to return it to the previous version, as the grip was very low and the car was not able to corner properly. In Ferrari, the cars were extremely low, scraping the ground a lot and bouncing a lot on the main straight, with the team trying to find the best balance, but the time still did not appear in the initial part. With about 40 minutes to go, practically everyone went to the garage, with the track being quite empty at this point. A new feature for Aston Martin this weekend is that the team is using a version of the floor from the beginning of the season, the one that was introduced at the Japanese GP, looking to find a good balance and return their car to the good performance that it showed in parts of last year. At Racing Bulls, the team used the soft tires several times in their attempts, while all the other drivers opted to adjust their cars using the medium tires. Exactly halfway through the practice, the cars returned to the track for another sequence of laps, where at this point, Max Verstappen was the fastest, with Lewis Hamilton in second and George Russell in third. Alonso, with the new floor, was in fourth with the McLaren cars in the middle of the grid and the Ferraris a little above. When the cars returned to the track, many off-tracks occurred, with some complaining a lot about the lack of grip and losing control several times. Meanwhile, Russell fitted soft tires and set the fastest time so far, with activity continuing intense on the track, with the cars making the most of every second. With 10 minutes to go, the track was once again full, with many drivers now using the soft tires in search of their qualifying pace times, with few using the hard tires in this free practice one. With these soft tires, the Williams car showed a very interesting pace, getting quite close to the top times, with Haas also managing some surprising laps, and things promising to be quite unpredictable in qualifying for the sprint in a few minutes. Even speaking of Haas, Bearman set the second best time at this point, and the cars doing laps at the same time had difficulty getting closer, including McLarens and Ferraris. After a few more laps, the time was reset at Interlagos, and on his last attempt, Lando Norris took the lead in the times, with George Russell in second and Oliver Bearman driving very well again with Haas, finishing in third place, less than 0.2 of a second behind leader Oscar Piastri and practically tied with second place George Russell. Rounding out the top 10, Oscar Piastri was 4th, Alex Albon 5th, Leclerc 6th, Carlos Sainz 7th, Fernando Alonso 8th, Pierre Gasly 9th, and Liam Lawson 10th. Verstappen didn't set a good time, but he aborted a very good lap on his last attempt, where he was going to finish first or second, showing that Red Bull can do well in qualifying in a little while. Well, with this result, we end this first free practice session. But stay tuned, because in a little while there will be qualifying for the sprint race, which promises to be very promising in this Brazilian GP. So tell me, what did you think of these first activities? Did you like it? Did it meet expectations?